Hey guys, it's Rhonda with the Stitch in Time Embroidery Designs, and tonight I'm going to show you how to make this little fabric covered tree. The green one that's felt on the right hand side is the original design, and I just want to show you how I made the little fabric covered one. So what we're going to do is take this apart so I can show you how this goes together in the first place. This little in the hoop Christmas tree is made of 3 different panels that you're going to stitch out and slide together when you're all done. Each panel is made of 2 pieces of stiffened felt. It has a front and a back, and we wanted that thick to make it nice and sturdy. So you're going to cut 2 pieces of fabric to fit each piece of felt, and then you're going to need something to fuse the fabric to the felt. In this case, I used Madeira Applique Magic. I'll put a link to it in the comments in the description of the video below. So you'll need 2 of those for each panel. So you'll need 6 pieces of felt, 6 fabric, 6 of this stuff, which is the Madeira Applique Magic. It's fusible on one side. The back side has paper that peels off to reveal a sticky back, which makes it great for applique, and in this case, what we're doing here. So we're going to give our piece of fabric, one of the pieces of fabric, a quick press. Make sure we get all the wrinkles out and it's nice and flat. And then we're going to take that Madeira Applique Magic and we're going to put the fusible side down, the paper side up, and we're going to press that onto the back of the fabric. I use this. This is one of my favorite products for doing applique, and I'm using it here as if I was doing applique also. You want to turn it over, give the front a good press too, so that you make sure it's really stuck to the back of that fabric. And you are going to want to let it cool down just a tiny bit because it's going to get hot. And then we're simply going to take one of the pieces of felt and we're going to peel away the paper on the back of that fabric. Just kind of bend the corner a little bit, and then you can use your fingernail to just pull the paper away. And you'll see that the back is sticky now on the back of the fabric, which makes it great for applique. It'll just stick in place and you can go on with your embroidery. In this case, I'm not in a hoop yet, so I can go ahead and press it to the felt right now. I don't need to wait until I'm finished embroidering. I guess you could, but I'm just going to do it now anyway. And that way I know it's nice and stuck. But, I mean, if you don't want to, since it's sticky back, technically you don't have to press at this step. Okay, so we need 6 like this. So we're going to do all 6. Through the magic of video, they are all done. All 6 panels. And then we're ready to start. We're ready to go to the machine. So load your design. And this is the same instructions for the 5x7 tree and the 6x10 tree. We have 2 different sizes. We're going to work on a 3rd size sooner or later. So now I have 2 layers of the mesh type water soluble stabilizer. And I have T-pins in the sides because I like using T-pins in anything like this that's not going to be hoop, that's kind of floated in the hoop. So I have 2 layers and the T-pins in the edges. All right, so we're going to put the hoop on the machine. And the first thing that's going to stitch out is the placement line for the felt. It's basically just going to stitch an outline of the tree. I've sped up the the video right here so that we can get through this a little bit faster. Make sure it's in a color that you can see. Take it off the machine. And we're going to take one of those pieces of fabric covered felt, and we're going to center it over the placement line that just stitched, and we're going to tape it on the top and the bottom to hold it in place. I am using 3M transport tape right here. It's medical tape. I find that the machine can stitch right through it with no problem. It's also perforated everywhere, so it tears really easily and straight. And now this is a hoop and press pad. What that does is when we're working on the back side of the hoop, it's as thick as the hoop is. This is an older model than the newer ones that are out. But basically, it fits right inside of the opening of the hoop so that when you're working on the back of the hoop and you have to press down, it doesn't make the stabilizer loose. So if you don't have a hoop and press pad like this from Embroidery Garden, you can just put a small book under there or something to stop, for when you have to tape this piece down, because you're putting the other piece of felt right over the back side and you're going to tape it too. You're going to press that tape down. And if you don't have something underneath that, you could loosen the stabilizer in the hoop. And we don't want to do that. We want to make sure it stays nice and tight like it is. So make sure the felt is secure on the back and the front. And then we're going to take it back to the machine. Okay, so once on the machine, and I've already stitched it here, as you can see. I stitched it in white, and I'm going over it again just to make it easier for you guys to see on camera. If I was just stitching this to make a tree, I would not use white, and I would not go over it twice like that. That's the tack down stitch. That's going to stitch it all together. So then we're going to take it over to the cutting table, and you can see that white on here. In actuality, I would be, just stitching that in green or something. I have a little Kai double curved scissors, which is going to make it easy to get in all the little nooks and crannies here. So you want a small scissors. These little curved ones work great. And we are going to trim all around the outside of this little tree. And the felt, I have stiffened felt, so it's kind of thick, and you'll need to work with it a little bit. The SVG files are included with this design. So if you want to pre-cut your felt before and not have to trim it in the hoop like this, you can. If you have a cutting machine, I have a scan and cut, and you can absolutely pre-cut this before. I'll give you one tip if you want to do the fabric covered trees. I tried to cut the felt with the fabric already fused to it, and I did have trouble getting the cutter to go through the felt with the Madeira applique magic on the back of the thing, the whole 9 yards. So what I did the other day when I was messing around with this is I cut the felt by itself, and then I cut the fabric with the applique magic on it by itself, and then I just peeled off the paper backing and ironed the fabric to the felt after, and that worked out great. It saves you a little bit of time trimming in the hoop like this, but this is really not that hard to do. I kind of find all this little tedious type of work relaxing for some reason. I kind of like just, working with things like that. All right, so the easiest way that I found to cut that center out, because you have to cut where that slot is, where the trees go together, is to cut about a third of it, because the further you go in, the harder it is. So I cut about a third of it, and then I clipped across, and I went down the other side. And I did that in 3 pieces. There we go. I just cut across like that and cut that part out. And then I'm going to do the same thing twice more. I'll just cut a little bit further in. I did find that much easier than trying to cut all the way up one side and then all the way down the other, because it feels like it's kind of getting tighter and tighter as you go up. So if you just, break it up into thirds, it was way easier to do it that way. So little hint right there. Hopefully that helps some of you too, because stiffened felt is kind of thick. At least the one I bought is thick, and I'll leave the link for that in the description below. All right, so we're going to do the same thing to the back side. We're going to flip it over. We want to put our hoop and press pad underneath so that we're not pressing down on that stabilizer and making it loose in the hoop, because we want everything to stitch right where it needs to stitch. So I'm going to do the same thing right here. We're going to trim all of that away. And I'll just speed this video up right here just to shorten it a little bit. But you're basically just doing the same thing on the front and the back. And you'll do this for all 3 pieces. Now I'm walking you through stitching the piece in this video that has the little freestanding lace star attached to the top. The other 2 pieces, when you stitch them out, will be done the same way, except you won't have that little star part. Also, before I forget to tell you, when you get to the end of the design, you're just going to skip stitching the ornaments on the tree. They stitch last, so if you want them, great. If you don't, that's fine. Okay, so we're back at the machine. And the little star stitches next on section 1, on the piece that we're stitching right now. And I want to use metallic thread on the star. So I have wound regular polyester embroidery thread that's almost the same color as my metallic thread. And I'm using that in the bobbin just because I think it'll be less problematic. I'm not going to try to use metallic thread in the bottom. You really can't tell once it's all together that much. So I have gold metallic in the top. I have gold polyester embroidery thread in the bobbin. And we're going to stitch out the little freestanding lace star on top of the tree. And that stitches out before the edges of the tree. So let's get that stitched out. All right, I'm going to speed up this video to save time too. You don't have to use metallic thread on the top of the tree like that. The fabric that I'm using, if you see it in person, all the little print on it is kind of a metallic look, so I thought the metallic thread would look great on top. That is the metallic thread from Dime. I think it's called Kingstar. Hope I got that right. Anyway, it stitched out beautifully and worked great. So we're going to take the hoop away off the machine, and we are going to change our bobbin out to a bobbin thread that matches the thread that we're using on the edges of the tree. And I'm using a pretty green color that matches the fabric really well. So change out your bobbin because you want it to look the same on the front and the back, just like the star. And we're going to go ahead and stitch the edges of the tree. It's going to just stitch a satin edge all the way around the edge of the tree. All right, so now we'll change the top thread to the same green we put in the bobbin, and we're going to let it stitch all the way around the edges. And I've sped this up a lot and cut out some sections just so we don't have to watch the entire thing. Stitch all the way around. And you can see here there are some spots where the couple layers of white thread that I used just so that you could see it better didn't get covered up all the way. So that's why I wouldn't suggest doing that. I just took a fabric marker when I was done and covered those up so you can't even tell anymore. But normally if I'm stitching this, not for a video, I would use green thread to do the tack down on it to start with. I wouldn't use white. But it all worked out. You can't even tell now. Okay, so we're going to take it off the machine and bring it to the table. And we're going to go ahead and take it out of the hoop so we can remove the T-pins. And pop that out of the hoop. And we're going to trim away the stabilizer all the way around. Now, don't cut too close because you don't want to cut through any of those satin stitches on the edges. But you can cut away as much of that stabilizer as you can. All right, let's get it all cut out. I've sped up the video. I only wish I could cut out things that quickly, but I would mess it up if I did. So get away as much of that as you can without getting too close. Then we're going to grab a little bowl of hot water or warm water simply because it dissolves away that stabilizer quicker than cold water. And we'll use a paintbrush. And I'm going to dip the star in for the most part because it's easier that way. And the reason I use a paintbrush, sometimes I grab a Q-tip, whatever I have handy, is because I don't want to soak that entire thing. It's going to take too long to dry. If I'm just doing the edges like this, it'll dry a lot quicker. And there's no reason to soak the whole thing anyway. So I'm just using a paintbrush right on the edge. It kind of melts away that water-soluble stabilizer pretty quickly if you have warm or hot water. Cold water just takes a little bit longer. You can do it with cold water, but it is going to take a bit longer. Get it all out. You have a towel just to kind of blot the edges a little bit dry. And then you'll just lay it flat and let it dry completely. But to save time here, I'm going to swap it out with one I have that's already dry and show you how to put this little tree together. So we have all three sections, section 1, 2, and 3. And we'll show you how to put this little tree together. All right, so we have all three pieces. We're going to slide section 1 over section 2. And then we're going to slide section 3 up through the bottom over the other two sections. And that's it. I mean, it kind of naturally, if you put it together right, makes this cute little star shape from the top too. It's easy to take apart and put together. You can stick it in a bubble wrap envelope and mail it with a Christmas card. You can do it with just the stiffened felt and stitch ornaments on it, or do it with fabric over the felt like I did on the left side. It looks cute either way. This ornament stitch lasts, so if you don't want those, don't stitch them. Thanks for watching. Bye.